I've been to many stations, but it's rare now that you're at any radio station and you see the towers right behind the station. Here, at least the AM transmitter towers are behind the station. I'm not sure where the FM ones are, probably up on a hill somewhere, but
Right.
really fun to see.
Yeah, we have actually three antennas. One is running by 32,000 and one is 50,000 antennas watts. And we're reaching tremendous amount of people, like up to 15 million.
50,000 effective radiated power is a good number of watts, and in fact, the largest stations in America are only rated to 50,000, so it's as big as you can get.
Yes.
FCC doesn't allow anyone larger than that.
Wow. So, and yes, and we're like in premier station and location. So we're happy
There you go.
to have one of your best grand persona too, because you have been nominated and you're one of the year. What we tried to learn that word today.
Entrepreneur. I was actually, I guess not nominated. I was
Actually,
surprisingly won the
that's a
Entrepreneur
prize,
of the
right?
Year award by Inc. magazine, which is probably the biggest entrepreneur award one can be awarded. And that was a surprise. It was back in 2009, at the beginning of 2010, so it was for the year 2009. They give Inc. Magazine is a great magazine. It's a great publication that really is for entrepreneurs and small business people and businesses that are growing. They don't have to be tech businesses. When I went to their conference and spoke at their conference, the Inc. 500, 5,000 conference, you had people who owned dry cleaners, who owned ice cream stores, who owned radio stations, who all kinds of different kinds of businesses. And so I think in Silicon Valley we always think, oh, everything's high tech. And yes, there were some tech businesses there, but it really opened your eyes to the different kinds of businesses that people start and that start to grow. And so you see everything from restaurants to catering trucks to clothing stores to clothing lines to online businesses to security businesses, etc. So out of all those businesses that they reviewed that year, and hundreds or thousands or whatever, I was traveling actually at a conference and someone called me, a friend of mine called me from an airport. They had landed at an airport and they said, "Kevin, you're staring at me." So what do you mean I'm staring at you? I'm 1,000 miles away from you. No, I'm at the airport and I'm at a checkout counter. I'm looking down at a magazine and you're on the front cover looking at me, staring at me. And I said, "What front cover is that?" "Well, it's Inc. magazine. It just arrived today." I said, "Please buy every copy and send it to me," right? So there's some good stories about that, but it was a great honor, and I've been very fortunate in my career to have a number of honors that are probably not deserved, because there are so many amazing entrepreneurs like yourself in this country that are building businesses and building an audience and building everything else. So many more people should get awards than me, but that was quite the honor.
Well, it's actually interesting because I'm a scientist who become press only because I speak few other languages. I love people and I meet wonderful people like you. And community asked me to work, and also radio station to work here, because if I meet wonderful people like you, might as well share it with the rest of the community and have fun with that. So I'm pleased to be here for 2 years and was nominated too by Always On, which you just...
I know very well, yeah. Tony's got a great business.
And
That's a great business. That was a startup business about 10, 12 years ago.
And I would never know that as a press I could be nominated powerful press player. That's how it's called. So that's
Very good.
a surprise for me. And so I'm pleased. I'm like, wow, oh my God, like, right? You're saying OMG?
Yes, OMG or oh my gosh or oh my God, if you want to say that. I think we can say that on FM. That's fine, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I
Looking
bring
at the
a lot
producer over
of, I look at a lot of people here, and I bring all of the religions, so I don't discriminate on anybody. So
Yeah.
I grew up in an atheistic country, but when I came to here, I went to Burlingame Christian Orthodox Church and
Mhm.
was baptized at my, perfectly mature age. So,
Mhm.
so I made that choice. So tell me about yourself. What brought you to California, or you were born here?
I was not. I was raised in upstate New York, outside of Syracuse, so a
Okay.
long way from here, and went to school at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. Today I'm on their board of trustees. It's a great institution, primarily technology, but arts and technology, and a variety of other degrees, about 18,000 students. It's a very large university and one of the best now, certainly in the country. And after that, my degree was in engineering, and like yours, and I decided to come out and work in the semiconductor industry, and eventually started a number of companies, and ended up on boards and everything else, but really made lots and lots and lots of friends in the tech field, and had some over the years some amazing people work for me. Some of them, that's how we got connected. Some of the people who've worked for me are friends of yours as well, and they said, "Geez, you should go see what Olga's doing on her radio show." And
Yes,
we talked a little bit.
Yes.
Well, that's great. Look, if you're entertaining audiences, that's what it's about. Is they have great conversations and people listen, and people get inspired. Hopefully, once in a while, and once in a while, someone will even call in. Do we have a call-in number, by the way?
No.
No. So there's no way someone can call this show and ask a question.
No, actually, you mean to call here?
Yes.
Okay, yes, we do. It's 408-912-5265.
There you go. See.
408-912-5265, and please call us because we will be speaking with you until 7 p.m. in English, and we can accept the phone calls live on air. And after 7 o'clock, we not only will have Russian, but apparently I have a guy who speaks Japanese too. So.
That's great. My Russian and Japanese are extremely poor, so I'm glad I'm in the English section of the broadcast.
But you know, I have been in Rochester, New York, many times.
Of course.
Not only because of Xerox, they have biotech companies there and microbiology is there as well. It's quite different compared with California.
It is. It's a little bit of a high-tech hub up there, probably because Xerox, Bosch and Lohm, and Kodak, all based there. Now, those companies, of course, have changed a lot, but they've spawned, the people who used to work at those companies have spawned hundreds or thousands of startups, and so you've got biotech there, and you've got all kinds of tech startups. You've got a little bit of a venture community there, and you've got 4 terrific universities in town. So it's quite a place. If you haven't been to Rochester, New York, it is no question. It's a beautiful location.
So there at your RIT Rochester Institute, you there on Hall of Fame. Is it for your patents?
Yeah, well, I've been awarded 23 patents. I don't know what it's for. I was inducted into their, Alumni of the Year, and then later into, they have an Innovation Hall of Fame, and you don't have to be a graduate of RIT to be inducted into the Innovation Hall of Fame. But I was inducted a couple of years ago, along with Dean Kamen, who's amazing. He's had so many inventions, and so it was quite an honor to be inducted into that. I've been lucky enough to innovate in a lot of areas. Had one of the first smartphones in the world, called the Air Communicator, back in the early 90s.
How big it was?
It was very big. It was a smartphone, but it was very big. It was too big to be really successful. But we were selling to carriers in those days, and so there was such a thing as a smartphone that could get your data and move data around, etc. In even the mid 90s. But there wasn't much of an internet yet, so you couldn't talk to very many services. So there was that voice recognition work in the late 90s called Portico, or today we know it is Siri, but all of those patents that we developed in the late 90s and all that technology eventually became Siri today. So I've really, and then was credited with the invention of something called soundproof drywall. So this is drywall, or some people say sheetrock. You use it in studios, and you use it in multifamily, and you use it in hotels and motels and condos and these sorts of things, in music rooms, called Quiet Rock. So invented that almost 10 years ago now. So I've been fortunate enough to invent in many fields. I don't set out to invent anything, but I get a great team around me, and we start to brainstorm on the board, and before you know it, we have new products and new ideas and patents, and the products are successful, and we sell those companies and do something else. So it's fun, and look, you can't argue with the fact that Silicon Valley is a very unique place. Anyone from any culture can start any business and do something with it. Maybe it's going to be big, maybe it's going to be small, but unlike many places in the world, this is by far one of the most amazing places to start a business, whether it's a big one that can be funded through venture capital, or whether it's a small one, or whether it's press. Or I've known many people, by the way, who have started essentially press-oriented businesses like yourself, if you call it a business, but created a career, and they've built really amazing careers out of that from being a tech person maybe earlier, or a mom or something else. So what an amazing place that we all live.
Yes, and I know you're helping the companies to grow the money or capital up to $100 million. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, well, I've rightly or wrongly raised hundreds of millions of dollars within 4 companies I've been involved in. I'm on 6 other boards right now, but have been on probably almost a couple dozen boards, give or take. And I'm probably more helpful sometimes than others. I'd love to really be extremely helpful all the time. Part of what you do as a board member, certainly as a CEO, I think your number one job is to make sure that your business thrives and that you have enough money to do so. So I think anyone who is, whether you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60, whatever age, and you say, I want to go start this business, rule number one, you've got to have enough money to continue to make payroll. You just do. Whatever payroll is. Maybe it's just yourself, maybe it's 3 people, maybe it's 500 people. But rule number one, yes, you got to go out and sell, and yes, you've got to market, and yes, you've got to invent product, and you've got to do all these things. But you had better be able to make your payroll. Because if you can't do that, all your people leave, and then you have no business. So rule number one for the CEO is they've really got to have a passion about their business. They've got to understand their business, and they've got to be able to sell their business, whether it's to customers to make payroll, which is a great way to do it, whether it's to venture capital, whether it's to private equity, whether it's to banks. You've got to fund your business, however that's going to happen. That's job one. Then arguably job two is make sure you move product and get off of that fundraising mode and get into a mode where your customers are paying you enough so that you can stay in business. And that's where you always want to be.
Customers will be still interested in your services or product.
Well, yes, I hope so. I hope so, or else you shouldn't be in that business. And look, there's, I think there's 1,500 tech startups that were funded in the last year and a half or 2 years or so in the Valley. There's clearly not going, all 1,500 aren't going to make it. Statistically, less than 10% of those will really make it to any size at all. So you have to realize the odds are a challenge, and there's a lot of people starting businesses that I know they're very, very excited about them, and they come to me and they say, Kevin, we could really use your help. We'd really love you to be on the board. And we sit down and we think about it, and I look at it and I go, I got to tell you, maybe you have a lifestyle business, which means that maybe you can make a little money just for yourself, or maybe you have something that nobody's going to buy, but you don't have something that's fundable. And probably 9 times out of 10, these ideas are an interesting little idea, but they're not something that you can go out and raise 10 or 20 million or 50 or 100 million dollars against. Not every idea is worth it. Last but not least, on this little vein, sometimes I met a couple of guys from San Francisco. I won't tell you what their business plan is because it's somewhat secret. But their business plan is a wonderful plan. And I am sure that the two of them can make an amazing living for the next 30 years doing that business, hiring people and growing that business. I don't think it's a fundable business from a private equity or venture standpoint, because it's not the kind of business that's likely to have a successful exit, which is how venture capital makes its money. But as a lifestyle business, they've invented a beautiful business, and they should execute that business. And So my advice to them was, you have a wonderful lifestyle business. You should keep it as a lifestyle business, because probably it's not a business that anyone would want to buy for a high valuation. But you can make good money every year. Do that.
So what brought you to California?
Well, I interviewed all over the country at the time. This goes back to the mid-'80s, 1985. And there was something about Silicon Valley that we all know and love, which is there's so much opportunity. And when you actually go around the country and you compare it to Orlando or Texas or Southern California or many places in the Midwest, you came out here and it was just company after company after company after company. There's so much going on that how could you not see the difference? How could you not see the difference? And so, I saw that difference, and I had several offers out here from different companies. I had 12 offers coming out of college. I had 12 offers, written.
And what was your education at the time?
Electrical engineering, double E.
Electrical engineering, okay.
And so I ended up taking one of the offers here in Silicon Valley at the time. It was National Semiconductor, which is now Texas Instruments, but it was National Semiconductor, and in Sunnyvale on Kiefer Road, and that's where I started. And it was a great entree into the tech field.
So you started as an engineer, of course.
Well, sort of application engineering, and then they realized I could also sell because I had 5 years in sales, and all of a sudden I was, sort of I was really sort of technical sales, but I was also somewhat developing some new products too. So I ended up doing a variety of things in the semiconductor field around all of that, and tried to be, and then in marketing, some product marketing. So tried to be a little multifaceted, which eventually led me to say I'd love to start a company, and I did that at about 29 years old. And in those days, that was very young. Today, 29 might be old to start a company in this valley,
Yeah,
but in those days,
it's
getting like 21 would be the right age. But frankly, I'll be honest with you, at 29, I was ill prepared to start and run a company. I was not prepared. There is no way, with all due respect to 21, 25, 29 years old, at 20-something, I'm 50 now, at 51, and at 51, and lots of training, and lots of listening, and lots of experience, I'm an okay manager. I'm not great, but I hope to be great someday. I hope to be really good. But it's very hard. It's very hard. And you cannot replace 20 or 30 years experience with just high IQ. It's not replaying. You have to gain that experience. So when someone comes to your office and says, I've got this problem or I've got this issue, what you want is 20 years of experience already, or 30 years of experience dealing with that issue, knowing how to be compassionate about the issue, but at the same time raise the bar and get what needs to be done. And that just simply takes experience.
And then we will have commercial break in a moment, and we will come back to your interview. And I noticed kind of running your data, who are you, what you are, and you love music as well. So we will probably hear some of your performance there.
Oh boy, you might be able to find some of those out there on the web, right?
Right, because welcome to internet and no privacy whatsoever.
That's right.
So we know more than probably you want to tell us today on the radio interview, and you also on cameras. Can you imagine that?
I can.
Only few probably you streaming live and then putting on YouTube because we have Russia watching us.
And I'm happy to talk about music when we get back.